also with the late bait and switch. All right, Reese, thanks. Good morning, everyone, from Starkville, Mississippi. 46 degrees under sunny skies. Got a 5 next to that Alabama. Still looks foreign. Here to take on the Bulldogs. And yeah, the only prescription is more cowbell. You're watching the SEC on ESPN, presented by Xfinity. The two burning questions in college football. Can Alabama still get to the playoff? And will Tua Tagovailoa play today? Down to the field, the latest from Molly McGrath.
Yeah, Steve, Tua Tagovailoa was one of the last players out on the field for pregame warmups. He had both ankles heavily taped. He went through some mobility drills. He threw well on the run. And even though there's no official word on whether or not he'll start, coaches within the program told me that they would be shocked if Tua doesn't play today. And he was taking all of the snaps with the first team, so all signs point to Tua being the starter, Steve.
Here's my partner, Brian Griese. Do you want to go up against the all-time greatest football coach in history, in Nick Saban, if he in fact starts Tagovailoa today?
It looks like he's going to start, but that doesn't mean that he's going to play the whole game. I know Nick Saban will keep a close eye on Tua in this ball game. I didn't see him do anything laterally in pregame warmup. I'll tell you that. If there's a blitz up the middle, that's what Nick Saban wants to see. Can he protect himself?
And they can rush the passer. The scene is set. The home team has not been here in just about a month. 28 days in between home games for Mississippi State. They last played here against LSU on the 19th. And we'll find out immediately whether Tagovailoa starts at quarterback today for Alabama or not, as Mississippi State won the toss and they will defer. Jace Christman puts it in the air, and a flag immediately. The short kick and a fair catch, and before a second comes off the clock, we have our first flag. Referee is Ken Williamson.
Offside, kicking team number 18. 5-yard penalty for the fair catch spot. First down.
So offside on the opening kickoff, but the headline here is Tua Tagovailoa to start at quarterback for Alabama.
You see, he's not wearing the traditional cleats. He's wearing some modified cleats. They look like they have nubs on the bottom. That's typically what you wear when you're playing on AstroTurf when it's wet. But he feels more comfortable with that ankle in those shoes.
Unbelievable starting field position after the flag. It's Henry Ruggs, the speedster, on the flip. And he's just shy of midfield. Fourth member of our crew, here's Todd McShay.
Fourth member, huh? Tua, I was surprised because I watched him in pregame, and it's not like anything we've seen before. I've seen him warm up 6 times pregame. He comes out and has a routine. It was a very different routine today. I thought he was going to be the backup, but apparently he feels good and he's ready to go.
Yeah, the game day people are asking for a refund from your earlier report, Todd. On 2nd down and 5, there's a flag, motion.
Friends like you, Steve.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense number 70. 5-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
That's Alex Leatherwood, the star left tackle.
Well, I agree with Todd. Watching pregame, like I said, he didn't do anything laterally. He dropped straight back and straight forward. Obviously, we know he can throw the football, but the key today, and talking with Nick Saban last night, he said he has to be able to protect himself. And a big part of Tua's game is the naked game and the rollout on the perimeter. So he'll watch for whether he can do that.
2nd down and 11 after a couple of markers. Here's Najee Harris for 1. Jaden Crumedy and Chauncey Rivers make the stop.
And the other thing that Nick Saban said to us is that there were 2 options. It was to start Tua and have Mac Jones capable of coming in, or go the opposite direction with Mac Jones and then break the glass in case of emergency. I think we're going to see Tua as long as this game is tight, but I really think Nick Saban wants to bring in Mac Jones if they can get a significant lead.
3rd down and 10. Push back to their own 45. Tennyson in motion, the tight end. Good protection. And the throw is a beauty of a ball. Jerry Jeudy. And Tagovailoa just laid it in there perfectly for a gain of 38. Wow.
You know absolutely where Jerry Jeudy is going to be. He's going to be in the slot. He got a matchup here on a linebacker. That's Errol Thompson at 250 pounds. And Tua Tagovailoa identified it right off the bat.
Bama goes quickly back to Harris. Crashes down to about the 10-yard line. Tyler Williams the tackle. It's a gain of 7 on the play.
Look at Jerry Jeudy. He gets free access in the slot, and you can't defend a guy of his caliber with a linebacker.
Harris again, picking his way down to the goal line and in for the touchdown. The signal on the field is touchdown, Alabama. And that didn't take long. And Tagovailoa looks just fine.
That's exactly what they wanted to see from Tua. Stay in the pocket, protect him in the pocket, allow him to throw the ball down the field. They get Jerry Jeudy, their best player, matched up on a linebacker. Great scheme in the first 15 from Steve Sarkisian.
The ruling on the play is a touchdown. The previous play is under review.
Najee Harris was fighting at the goal line. Got a good view from this angle.
Hard to see exactly where the ball is. That's a better look on the slow-mo in reverse.
No problem, you can't see the knees on that angle. Both knees are up. Yeah, I don't see anything on that that's going to overturn the ruling on the field of a touchdown.
If it stands, it is the 7th time in 10 games Alabama will score a touchdown on their opening possession. And they have won 32 consecutive games when doing just that. Quick review.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. Touchdown.
What a response from Alabama. After last week, you wondered how they were going to respond, right? That was an emotional game. And the thing that was interesting from Nick Saban in talking with him last night, he felt like they were too emotional at the start of that LSU game. He mentioned the word anxiety for his team in the locker room before the game. And what a difference this is to come out and execute flawlessly on your first drive offensively with questions about your quarterback in a hostile environment to go right down the field and score.
Joseph Bonas, extra points, missed one last week, nails that one. Should point out that's out of the hold of Mac Jones. Tua will hold when he's 100%, but Mac Jones the holder there. 7-0 Bama.
And this is the Jeudy big play from midfield. And, you know, I think with the defense, what you're trying to do is play a two-deep defense, right? And that's the Tampa 2 where you run the Mike linebacker right down the middle of the field. That's good in theory, right? It's good on the chalkboard. But when you put the speed of Jerry Jeudy out there and the accuracy of Tua Tagovailoa, that linebacker has no shot. So really what
Not even Derek Brooks has a shot at that.
Really what you've done, Todd, is you've put one-on-one with a safety in Jerry Jeudy, and that's not going to work. To me, you got to come up and press and be physical with Jerry Jeudy and get him off of the timing of a route to have any shot.
That's the only way to defend him. He's so quick. He's the best route runner. Honestly, he's the best route runner I've ever seen in college football. And his ability to get in and out of breaks is great and special, but against a Tampa 2 defense where you give him a free release, you have no shot.
And football IQ off the charts for Jerry Jeudy. So Mississippi State will get the football for the first time. And the fair catch signaled for at the 6 to bring it out to the 25, down to Todd.
I think one thing you have to look for Mississippi State is they've got to get great production and versatility out of their running back in Kylie Hill. You saw last week against LSU, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was unbelievable. Number 22, I mean, he showed power, he showed the ability to run, but he also showed the ability to block and catch the ball out of the backfield. And that's one thing they're looking for from Hill. He's capable, but he hasn't done a whole lot of it.
You see the numbers a couple of weeks ago when they housed Arkansas 54-24. Mississippi State comes off their bye week. Extra preparation for Alabama. Intercepted. Picked off by Shane Lee. And that's how Tommy Stevens comes out throwing. He is picked off immediately by the true freshman, Shane Lee. And all going right early for Alabama.
Tommy Stevens never saw Shane Lee. He's a linebacker. He's right here. He's going to come up and kind of get lost. And Tommy Stevens loses him behind that offensive line. Never sees him. Throws that ball right in between the 3 and the 5. And for Shane Lee, there's been a lot of conversation this year about this Alabama defense. They're not as good as they have been. And everybody, a lot of people are putting it on the young linebackers. No Dylan Moses, no Josh McMillan. And as a true freshman, Shane Lee comes up with a big play for the defense on the first snap.
Mack Wilson left early, leaving Shane Lee and Christian Harris in the middle, the two youngsters. Off the sudden change, Tagovailoa comes out throwing, and wide open, it's Harris out of the backfield. Touchdown, Alabama.
That's the same play they scored against LSU a week ago. Here is Harris, and there's the safety. He's going to get picked on the outside, goes inside. Nobody goes with Harris to the outside. He caught a back shoulder throw against LSU for the touchdown last week. This time he's wide open.
Bulovas boots it through. Should we get Mac Jones up yet? I mean, this plays out perfectly for Alabama. This is the exact start they wanted, if in fact they want to get 2 out early. 14 points in 14 seconds for Alabama.
Yeah, I certainly would start to get them warmed up. There's no question. But for Alabama, what a difference a week makes the way they start in the first half.
You can check out our alternate angle Skycam coverage. Today's game streaming live on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. Check it out. Give you a different angle, different view. Same great commentary and analysis.
my favorite.
We hope. 14-0 Bama. Isaiah Zuber again a fair catch out to the 25. But bring it. Here's Matt Barry.
All right, gentlemen, got a pair of rushing touchdowns for you. Checking in on Oklahoma State first, taking on Les Miles in Kansas. Les Miles used to coach at Oklahoma State. Never had back like Chuba Hubbard. 15-yard touchdown. Chuba rushing touchdown in every game this season. 7-0 Pokes. What about TCU, Texas Tech? Max Duggan, 20-yard touchdown for the Frogs. An embarrassment of riches. Steve Levy in the noon window upset.
Very nice, Matt Barry. Be with us all afternoon, keeping you updated on everything going on around the college football world. Imagine this score is resonating early. Kylan Hill, the leading rusher in the SEC, and Mississippi State will look to settle things down with Tommy Stevens. Of course, the transfer, Penn State, rock solid in there, when healthy, and we are told this is the healthiest he's been all season long.
Yeah, it really has. He's fought the injury bug, and before I could get out his keys to the game of protective football, he already has an interception, but his game needs to start with running the football. A physical runner at 235 pounds. He's the 1-2 punch with Kylan Hill. They've got to get that run game going early.
That's Hill. They motion back into the backfield. Now split them out. And Stevens will take off. Has first down yardage and then some. Tommy Stevens can do this for you. And he'll be marked just shy of the Alabama 40. It's a 27-yard run on the quarterback draw.
And when you motion Hill out, that takes the linebacker out. Then there will be no linebacker left on the inside. That's a really well-designed play from Joe Moorhead, and reminds you of Nick Fitzgerald, right? Big, physical quarterback that can run.
Bit of a calming influence now for the home team. See how they respond. Give it a Kylan Hill. That's always a strong play. Up the middle for 3. Shane Lee and Anthony Jennings for Bama make the stop.
Be a lot of fun to watch these Alabama defensive backs try to tackle this big fella. Xavier McKinney, Shaim Carter, Jared Maiden. Those guys, they're going to have to make a couple of business decisions in this game.
Don't hear any cowbells when Mississippi State's on offense. Second down and 7.
Just discipline.
Yes, discipline from the home crowd as the stadium fills up with the early 11 a.m. local kickoff time. Try to run against the blitz, and Hill for a couple. Christian Harris made the stop. St. Anthony Jennings around the outside.
And these fans, they're always ready for the Alabama team when they come to town, but they haven't had a game here in 3 weeks, so they certainly are ready for this one.
It's about a 50-mile drive, we were told. In fact, with the president attending LSU Alabama a week ago, we were told that many fans actually flew into Golden Triangle, nearby airport here, and made the drive from here to Tuscaloosa. That's how close it is. 3rd down and 6.
3rd down's here where you got to try to isolate Kylan Hill in the passing game.
Bama, a little hesitation on the pressure, and it works. Raekwon Davis, and a flag comes in. And Davis is slow to get up. If the sack stands, it's a loss of 7.
Personal foul, face mask, defense number 99. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
Looks like Davis got the worst of that exchange, and he's the player the face mask was called against.
Yeah, it really bails out Mississippi State here. Nowhere to go with this football, and Tommy Stevens just trying to extend this play. Raekwon Davis gets in there and gets a big fistful of face masks. A good call. And a first down at the 22-yard line now for the Bulldogs.
Penalties have been an issue. This Alabama defense has allowed 24 first downs by the opponent due to their own defensive penalties. That's tied for the most in the SEC with Auburn. Fedarian Mathis checks in, replacing Raekwon Davis. We'll keep an eye on that. First down and 10. Here's Stevens. Throws. And a completion. It's Hill out of the backfield. Gain of 18. And that's something Mississippi State wants to do today. Get the ball in Hill's hands, but out of the backfield.
Yeah, that's the one they want, right? This is what Clyde Edwards-Helaire did, right? You get matched up here on a corner route. They scored last week on that. They identified this as a weakness in Alabama's defense, and Kylan Hill delivers.
2 tight ends in from Mississippi State. First and goal now from the 3.
That's going to be a big key all day long with Hill. They've got to get him involved against these freshman linebackers.
The give is to Hill, trying to pick his way down to the goal line. Give him 2 on the play. Shane Lee and Justin Aboigbe make the stop.
So I asked Kylan last night, I said, I know you saw that game, right? And Edwards-Helaire catching all those balls and having that impact. And I said, can you do that? And he said, no comment. You have to wait to see tomorrow.
Yeah. He had a big smile, though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
And he was rubbing his hands together, too.
He can do it. He can catch the football, and Joe Moorhead's got plenty of offense to design for him to get matched up on those linebackers, and it's got him inside the 2 here.
Hey, DJ Dale is now down and hurt. Bama's already temporarily lost Raekwon Davis.
On a Suspicious Fansville by Dr. Pepper.
Hey, you're late.
I was just getting more Dr. Pepper.
Is that Dijon mustard? Are you seeing another grill?
No.
Was it her? What does she have that I don't?
She has an onion volcano. Look.
She uses propane. This is natural, girl.
Tastes the same to me.
What?
Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville.
Turn on my TV and boom, it's got all my favorite shows right there. I wish my trading platform worked like that.
Well, have you tried Thinkorswim? This is totally customizable, so you focus only on what you want.
Okay, it's got screeners and watch lists.
You can even see how your predictions might affect the value of the stocks you're interested in.
Now, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it'll free up more time for your true crime shows.
British baking competitions.
Didn't peg you for a crumpet guy.
Focus on what matters to you with Thinkorswim.
Find a more inspired drive in an all-wheel drive Mazda that Cars.com says is one of the best driving 3-row SUVs. Or one car.
Back just in the nick of time, and the handoff. to Hill for the touchdown. There's the signal. Touchdown, Mississippi State.
Wasn't blocked particularly well, but it's really nice job by Kylan Hill of finding a crease, just getting inside of Shane Lee, the Mike linebacker, and it looks like he kept the knee off the ground and the ball crossed the plane. It's a good response from Mississippi State offensively, going down early 14-0 off the turnover. A couple of nice plays both in the run and pass game for Kylan Hill on that drive.
And for all the confidence Alabama got from their 2 scores quickly, coming off the LSU loss a week ago, the Bama defense has to be feeling the effects a little bit. Some concern there.
These are always so hard to tell, these angles with a lot of bodies in there on the goal line. That's why the ruling on the field is so important in these situations. It's very rare that they overturn these calls. Looking at the ball.
Really?
This is elbow down before the ball crossed the plane.
You see the ball there?
Yeah.
You got good eyes.
After further review, runner was down with the ball at the 1-foot line.
Wow.
Therefore, it'll be 3rd and goal at the 1-foot line. Ball will place on the left hash. The clock will start on the ready for play signal.
So they do reverse it, and it's 3rd and goal.
Yeah, they could see the ball.
Yes, they could as well.
That's big. I mean, there's no giving here on 3rd down. You would think it's probably 4-down territory for Joe Moorhead here at home, down 14-0 quickly. But this is where Tommy Stevens at 235 pounds becomes a weapon. It's interesting they're not coming out with Kylan Hill in the backfield. He's lined up in the slot right here.
From the 1-foot line. That's Hill. Motion into the backfield. Plenty of time to snap it. With all the window dressing, it's Kylan Hill who skips into the end zone. Touchdown, Mississippi State, not going anywhere for now. Freshman, the junior from Houston, puts it through. 21 points in the first 6+ minutes. Late arriving crowds missing a lot.
Well, you mentioned a lot of window dressing, but at the end of the day, it's still power football. Darian Parker, the left guard, the left tackle, both come off and have a huge hole for Kylan Hill. Make it a 7-point game.
College football is presented by Xfinity. Get the ultimate in-home Wi-Fi experience with Xfinity X5. And in part by Mazda. Feel alive.
Well, some early game strategy already unveiled. Clearly, Mississippi State does not want to kick it deep to Jalen Waddle.
No, he's going to pooch kick it pretty much on every single time. That time he pooches it down to the linebacker. That's a smart decision. Christopher Allen. The first pooch kick went on the other side of the field to Bolden, who's a receiver, but they're just not going to give it to Jalen Waddle, and I agree with them 100%.
Yes, but
give the ball on the 30-yard line.
You can't hand the ball at the 40 or the 45 like the last time. That's where the strategy was flawed. There was a penalty, but that is an interesting call. A ton of respect being shown towards Jalen Waddle's return skills.
I wouldn't kick it to him. I wouldn't punt it to him.
That's what Joe Moorhead said. We're going to sky kick it on the kickoffs, and we're going to flip kick it on punts.
Yep.
We just can't give him a shot.
Tagovailoa to throw, blitzes and picked up, and that's what we wanted to watch for. How would Tagovailoa react to the contact from Errol Thompson and Nathan Pickering, and they get him on a sack. We'll watch for the ankles.
Yeah, and this time it's Najee Harris. He's responsible. Here he is right here, and here's Errol Thompson. He's got him one-on-one. He loses sight. That's just not knowing your assignment. And if you lose him for 1 second, your head turns one way, and he's past you, and he puts Tua in a bad spot.
Second down and 18. Tagovailoa missed his target there. A flag comes in. Cameron Dantzler had the coverage on Henry Ruggs, and by that reaction, a penalty against Mississippi State.
This is exactly what they want Cameron Dantzler to do. Be physical and bump and run on the receivers.
Pass interference, defense number 3. Kennedy will place the ball at the spot of the foul. Includes an automatic first down.
And Joe Moorhead is saying, listen, I'm teaching him to be physical. Come up, get a bump on him. You just can't hold him. He gets the arm around. If that ball wasn't in the air, I don't think they call that. But that's exactly what they want Dantzler. Dantzler is up to the task. He's one of the better corners I've watched on tape in the SEC. It'll be a fascinating study to watch him against Judy today.
From the 30, here's Harris, able to turn the corner. And he's crashed out at about the 44-yard line. Again to Harris. And that'll go for a loss on the play. C.J. Morgan lost a one. Here's Matt Barry.
Okay, guys, have an LL Bean studio update. Checking in on Indiana, Penn State. Penn State trying to bounce back from getting boat road. 7-0 Nittany Lions until Peyton Ramsey finds Ty Freifogel. Nittany Lions just hit a field goal up 10-7.
That is one of the more fascinating games in this early window on this college football Saturday. Only a couple more weeks to go in the best regular season in all of sports. Second down and 10. 4 wide receivers in. And you know how talented that wide receiver room is for Alabama. With all that, give it to Harris. There'd be some confusion in the backfield there. Chauncey Rivers makes the stop, gain of 1.
I think bears mentioning Mississippi State playing without some of their best players on the defensive side. Willie Gay, the linebacker, not playing. Lee Autry, the defensive lineman, and then Marcus Murphy, the safety. All of them missing their 7th game. There's Willie Gay. Had an interception return for a touchdown the first snap against Kentucky. And there's Lee Autry, and they've been up to the task early, stopping the run without him.
Violation of team rules. That's what we've been told for all 4 of those players. 3rd down and 9. Some pressure. Tagovailoa hit as he throws, able to complete to Judy. Gain of 15 on the play in the first down. Or watch Tagovailoa get up every single time.
And that's what makes Tua so special, in my opinion. His ability to go through reads and just the instincts that he has. I'm standing in the end zone watching his eyes and goes through the progressions, and then to lead the receiver, Judy, and put that ball in a perfect spot.
Kobe Jones got the hit on Tagovailoa. On first down and 10 on the Mississippi State side of the field, it's Judy on the slant, and he's off to the races. And there's some power. A flag comes in late as he hits the pylon. If it stands, it's a 40-yard score.
I think they're going to get Jerry Judy with a face mask there at the end. You can stiff arm in the face mask, but you just can't keep your hand up there on the face mask, and he had it on there for at least 3 or 4 strides.
Personal foul, face mask, offense number 4. 15-yard penalty for spot of foul. It'll be first down.
And this is the RPO that they've become so good at through these last couple of years with Jerry Judy and Tua Tagovailoa. And the linebacker can't be right. Here's the 2 linebackers, Thompson and Lewis, and when you put the ball in the belly, right, they got to come up, right? Look at the conflict is here. So the ball's in the belly. Now Tua pulls it out right behind the ear, and Jeudy has been so good at catch and run, the yards after catch. The only thing that stops him is a penalty.
So the Jeudy face mask wipes out his own touchdown. The action occurred, the face mask at the 4. 15 yards, push him back, so they start at the 19. First down and 10. It's Harris on the ground. Ran into his own guy, and then winds up with a loss of 2. Marquise Spencer, first man in from Mississippi State, and a flag comes in.
Flag down at the 19-yard line. Alabama wants to get this run game going. Najee Harris has been playing better.
After the play was over, personal foul, late hit, offense number 69. The penalty is 15 yards from the succeeding spot. The down will count. It's second down.
Landon Dickerson, one of the leaders up front, not leading in particular fashion on this play.
Yeah, guys on the ground, and
just never hear that, a late hit on an offensive player. That's pretty rare.
I mean, that I would have kept my flag in my pocket on that one.
So again, Alabama had what they thought was a touchdown. Instead of the points, they want to put second down at the 37 after a couple of penalties. Self-inflicted wounds. Tagovailoa to Harris out of the backfield to get a lot of the yardage back. Slips a tackle to gain a 23 on the play.
Well, Errol Thompson's having a tough go here in the first quarter. You know, they're putting a lot of stress on him, both in the RPO game, as we just saw, and now they're going to get him matched up right here on Najee Harris. And so he's got him. He thinks he's blocking. Right here, he's blocking. Now he slips out at the very end. That's just very difficult to cover. When you fake to a back, it looks like he's blocking, and then he releases in the pass route. That's as hard as it gets on a linebacker.
That's Major Tennison, the tight end, bottom of your screen, on third down and 5 at the 14 of Mississippi State. Tagovailoa tried to hook up with Waddle on the slant, and a flag comes in. Could see that coming.
Fabian Lovett dropped out.
Pass interference, defense number 32. The penalty will place the ball at the spot of the foul and includes an automatic first down.
That's Brian Cole they got.
I was saying Fabian Lovett, the nose guard, dropped out, and he looked like he got underneath that route and may have tipped that ball. If it was tipped, then you can't obviously have pass interference. Does he get a finger on this ball? That's tough to tell. First down.
So penalties have taken over on this drive for both teams. Tagovailoa to throw for it. Devontae Smith, ball on the ground, and it's picked up by Henry Ruggs. In perfect position, bails out Bama.
Looked like it was Jaquarius Landrews. Sorry, that's Williams, 13, that forces that fumble, and Ruggs in good position.
Great tackle by Williams.
That's what you got to do, right, Todd, against these skill receivers. Tackling in space is probably the most important thing.
And Mississippi State is 127th in the nation in terms of giving up yards after the catch. So it's a struggle for them, but so far they're showing some life.
Well, the yards after catch, Steve, have been in the middle of the field, and it's been on the linebackers in particular.
From the 5, Harris trying to run it in there, and second effort, he will get there. Touchdown, Alabama. So in the end, they get the score anyway. There's a whole lot of extra work for the Crimson Tide.
And it doesn't look like Mississippi State has much of a chance when they get down inside the 5. It's been Najee Harris predominantly, and you know, they get him going and this run game going. It just has more sting on the RPO game, and they haven't run it as well as they have traditionally this season, but they look like they're getting better and better.
And again out of the hold of Mac Jones. Joseph Bulovas boots it through. Najee Harris has all 3 Alabama touchdowns. 2 rushing, 1 receiving. A lot of Alabama fans will have their eyes on this one. 1-loss Oklahoma, undefeated Baylor. 7:30 ABC, streaming on the ESPN app. And after you're done watching Nick Saban coach his team today, you can hear how he coaches his team all week. It's detailed. Nick Saban, available anytime on ESPN+. Chance to get in a room one-on-one with Nick Saban. Get some of his genius. We talked about last week's game against LSU. And they were doomsday. They were in big trouble right from the opening start. 3 critical mistakes. We send it back to Matt Barry.
All right, guys, checking in on Michigan State. Wolverines hadn't beaten Sparty back-to-back years since 2007. Little brother gets on the board first. Brian Lewerke to Max Rosenthal. And then after a Nebraska touchdown, look at Aaron Cruikshank. Ensuing kickoff, 89 yards for the score. First kickoff return for the Badgers since 2015. Right now, 10-7 Bucky.
Good stuff, Matt. Little brother. Did you call him little brother when you were there?
No.
Oh, you did.
That was Mike Hart.
Oh, okay.
He brought that on himself.
Right. That was after
Things
you?
didn't go well after that.
No. Not a smart one.
Whoops.
Proverbial throw the records out.
Right. And they should. Both teams, I guess. Here's Thomas on the receiving end. Another flag comes in. It's been a bit of a flag fest early here.
Yeah, it has. They're going to get Osiris Mitchell holding, trying to block on the edge there on the perimeter.
Holding on the offense, number 5. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Repeat, first down.
8th penalty, still with 3 minutes to play in the first quarter. You know, Grease, you mentioned, difference a week makes, right? Obviously, they're not playing LSU talent this week, but those were self-inflicted wounds by Alabama a week ago. Tua's fumble. Yep. They get the interception with 12 men on the field. Then the snap goes through the hands of Perine, the young punter. Right. I've never seen a worse first half of a first quarter by Alabama at home in a big spot.
Yeah, and then the interception right before half by Tua, and they come out in the second half. They outscored LSU 28-13 in the second half.
Gibson, his first touch, will go for a loss. Shaheem Carter, the stop, loss of 1 on the play.
All that being said, Alabama did not lose that game last week. LSU won it. LSU was the better team, and yes, Alabama came out, but it's the first time I've heard Nick Saban, after a game like that, talk about walking through the locker room before the game and seeing the look in his players' eyes and being concerned about the emotions. He tried to take as much of the implications of that game off their plate a week ago, and it didn't work. And they came out, they were anxious, and they were nervous in the first half of that game. There's no question.
2nd and 20. Mississippi State. Here's Tommy Stevens. Take a deep shot down the middle of the field and hung up too long for Osiris Mitchell. Trevon Diggs running with him step for step.
Oh my gosh. Trevon Diggs almost makes an unbelievable interception. He tries to go up one hand and almost sticks that ball. If he doesn't hit the ground, I think he makes that interception. Tommy Stevens takes a big shot from Christian Harris.
Of course, Trayvon's older brother is Stephon, of Minnesota Vikings fame. I'm sure he'd be saying, I would have made that catch. Difference in a wide receiver and a cornerback. 3rd down and 20. From the 15. Conservative running it. Nick Gibson trying to hurdle some people. Gets some of the yardage back. Went over Patrick Surtain. It's a gain of 9 on the play. 4th and plenty.
Seeing that more and more. You talk about this Alabama defense, right? Giving up 46 points last week. They've got their pride on the line. Everybody's talking about this defense not being as good as Alabama has been traditionally. Yes, they've had the graduation, 5 guys drafted off the defense a year ago, and then the injuries. But they still have a lot of pride. And Trevon Diggs giving up that touchdown a week ago in the LSU game. He wanted to make that interception.
See if Jalen Waddle gets a shot. Standing at the near side 40. Trying to cover his eyes from the sun. Takes a big-time Mississippi State bounce for Tucker Day, and it ends up being a 45-yard punt. So we hit the final minute, quarter number 1. We wondered if he played. Well, he's playing well. More Tua when we come back. Be playing, brought to you by Goodyear.
And a lot of it's been Tua Tagovailoa. We've seen him in the pocket. And I think probably before the game, Nick Saban went over to Steve Sarkisian and said, listen, 13's going to play and throw all of the naked game out. Don't roll him out. If we can protect him in the pocket, then he can play. But other than that, you know, we need to keep him inside the pocket.
Down the sideline, it's Jahleel Billingsley. And I believe that's Billingsley's first catch of the season, the true freshman from Chicago. And the first Illinois recruit at Alabama since 1997.
Well, and they're without their starting tight end, Miller Forrestall. He got hurt in the Arkansas game, so they're trying to find a tight end. And Billingsley's a talented guy, 6'4", 230 pounds. He's just a true freshman, as you mentioned. But they don't have a reliable pass-catching tight end right now. They've got some big physical guys that can block, so Billingsley's got an opportunity.
Look at Tua, 8 of 8 already. Here's Brian Robinson on the ground. His first carry. And pushing it ahead. Should have enough for the first down. We'll see where they spot it. Maybe a little short. Here's Molly in the final seconds of the quarter.
Well, Steve, Alabama may be giving Najee Harris a little bit of rest. He's been their workhorse today, and he's been a little banged up. Medical training staff was cleaning off a lot of blood off of his arm, and they wrapped that arm for him.
He's had a big quarter, Najee Harris has. He's got all 3 touchdowns for Alabama. An eventful first quarter. Tua looks just fine so far. Let's check out today's Aflac trivia question. Which left-handed quarterback has thrown the most touchdown passes in NFL history? Oh, it's a good one, right? So in pregame warm-ups, I threw out, you know, Steve Young,
yeah.
Ken Stabler.
The Snake, yeah.
Yeah. Jim Zorn lefty?
Yes,
left-handed.
So, yeah.
And I was told I was incorrect on all those. Here's Brian Robinson, the ball carrier, gain of 6. You want to give Greasy a chance to guess?
I'm going Stabler.
You would have gone Stabler?
I would have gone Steve Young, yeah, but I think you got to go further back probably.
Boomer, yeah, Boomer. Not that far back. Boomer Esiason.
That was close, though. Steve Young was second.
What's with Levy and his obsession with left-handed quarterbacks?
Ken Stabler, Mark Brunell, and Michael Vick to fill out the top 5. You know, they say left-handed people are more intelligent than right-handed. Have you heard that?
No, it was more creative. Oh. But, you know, go with whatever you want.
Intelligent, creative. Here's the left-hander, Tua Tagovailoa. Down the sideline, touchdown. Well, that was creative. Jalen Waddle, 35-yard score, and Bama made that look really easy.
I don't even think that he knew the route that he was running, because Waddle was running an out route, and Tua just throws it up. He sees one-on-one and steps up and just gives him an opportunity. Waddle was running to the outside, was looking over his left shoulder, picks the ball up in the air. Watch here, he's running a corner route. He's looking over his left shoulder, and then, oh, there's the ball. I'm going to go up. I don't think that was a design out and up. Maybe it was.
Looked like 3 adjustments by Waddle on that ball. And the extra point is good, and the extra point, that's never a guaranteed thing with Alabama. Tua 9 of 9, you see the 2 scores. And I think it's important that Tagovailoa has had some contact. They've sacked him a couple times, a couple of shots on him after releasing the football. Do you think Nick Saban has a number in mind? We get to X amount of, an X point lead, we get 2 out and get Mac Jones.
I think he's probably saying right now, based on the fact that they're up 21 points, that he's going to play the first half, and then they go in at halftime and they'll come out with Mac Jones if it stays like it is right now.
Have you seen everything you wanted to see from Tua Tagovailoa?
I don't need to see anything from Tua Tagovailoa. I didn't need to see him play in this game.
Right, not at all.
If it were me, I would have come out with Mac Jones. But, you know, I think you need Tua Tagovailoa to be healthy, I think, to beat Auburn. in a couple of weeks.
No question. But if he's healthy, I think a lot of people feel as if they need some style points today. They need to blow people out the rest of the way.
I don't necessarily agree with that. If you would have played Mac Jones in this game and won, maybe the committee looks at it and says, well, they played LSU with an injured quarterback, and he couldn't even play the next 2 weeks.
And he was so hurt against LSU.
I mean, that's the reality of what the committee might be saying.
Right. That was your eye test. Fair catch for Isaiah Zuber. See what else is going on around college football. Back to the mat.
Okay, Steve Levy, update you on Michigan State. Hassan Haskins, direct snap, ties it at 7 apiece. Sparty and the Wolverines. And Penn State down to Indiana 14-0. Sean Clifford, 38-yard run for the touchdown. Penn State back on top, 17-14.
Back and forth we go. Indiana's a fascinating story this season.
Yeah,
done a nice job there.
Tom Allen's done a great job. That would be a huge win for them. They're 7-2, aren't they?
Yeah, yes, and a lot of good candidates for Coach of the Year. It's an interesting year. Matt Rule, we'll see him tonight. PJ Fleck, of course. Here's Kylan Hill, the ball carrier. As the Bulldogs try to stay in this game, gain of 2 on the play. We check out today's matchups with our Wendy's Weekend Watch. And it's a great time of year in college football. All these critical games, and majority of these will have the attention of Alabama Nation, Alabama's faithful right here. Just about every single matchup impacts them in a way.
Yeah, that Auburn-Georgia game, certainly. We had Georgia last week, and Jake Fromm willed them without Lawrence Cager. It'll be interesting to see if Cager's able to go today and be productive, because that wide receiving core for Georgia is really green after him.
2nd down and 7. Out to Hill. Good second effort. Pick up a few anyway. Be about a 3rd and 5 upcoming.
Well, Kylan Hill needs to touch the ball 25 to 30 times in this ball game, and it's going to be a physical game. There's no question for him, but he's their most talented player, and he leads the SEC in attempts and yards, so he's taken his fair share of hits this season. Now you see Gibson in the game to take a little bit of the load off.
3rd down and 5 from their own 30. Here's Stevens, steps and fires underneath to Stephen Guidry. He's shy of the 1st down. Xavier McKinney made sure of that. 4th down.
And Alabama just decided to play zone coverage there. Joe Moorhead was anticipating man-to-man. He calls a crossing route. And the problem that happens there, you have a crossing route, the crosser runs right into the zone defender. They come up, make the tackle, and force a punt. And they told us they were going to kick the ball high and try to not allow Jalen Waddle to return it. They were willing to sacrifice distance. See if they do that here.
There's Tucker Day, back to punt. Got a good bounce the 2nd time around. Went for a 45-yard punt. In the air, on an angle. See how he stays in bounds. It does not.
That's
goes out of bounds.
That's a great punt.
But that's what they're trying to do.
Well, you have 2 choices. You either kick it high and not allow him the time to go to return it, or you directional punt it. That time, a great job punting it out of bounds.
Goes for a 38-yard punt. More Tagovailoa when we come back. We're proving just missing the gambling here in Stark Vegas. You're watching the SEC on ESPN, presented by Xfinity. We saw another sign around town. Said only one team here has a winning streak. That's, of course, Mississippi State comes off a victory. I think you need to win 2 in a row to have a winning streak. But the point was Alabama was coming in off their first loss.
That's the guy's a strange brew, yeah.
Yeah, trying to rub it in just a little bit. Home team. Deep shot for Jerry Jeudy over his head. Anywhere Tua Tagovailoa wants to go is a good place, Todd.
Yeah, I was bored last night, so I went back and looked. I've got 3 wide receivers for Alabama with 1st-round grades, and Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith, and Henry Ruggs. There have never been, going back to 1967, which is considered the NFL draft, the modern era of the draft, There's never been 3 taken in the first round from the same school. 2007 was the last time 2 receivers from the same school were taken, but again, it's not 3. And that was Anthony Gonzalez and Ted Ginn Jr. from Ohio State, and Bowie and Craig Davis from LSU.
There's Najee Harris on the ground for the first down. Gain of 12 on the play. The flag comes in.
Todd, you think all 3 of them definitely come out? They're all juniors.
I think there's a really good chance.
Yeah.
I think Devontae Smith potentially could go back. Henry Ruggs, he's the fastest receiver in the country.
After the play was over, personal foul, offense number 85. 15-yard penalty to the succeeding spot. A first down had been gained, therefore it is first down.
Now that's 2 times that Alabama offensively. First time was on Landon Dickerson, the center, and now this Kendall Randolph, the tight end, who's also an offensive tackle, just cleaning up the pile. And that drives him crazy, right? That's just unforced errors.
Or that's Nick reacting to McShay saying all his underclassmen are coming out.
Yeah, we've had a couple of nice conversations about that. But the talent is there. Judy's the best route runner. Devontae Smith has had a huge year, and Ruggs has got the elite speed.
In all, that's the 4th personal foul so far against Alabama. Here's Harris.
Well, I think Nick would say if they're a first round, if they get a first round grade, he's got no issue with them going.
That's his issue. So you have an advisory committee that sends you a note back if you put your name in, and they say you're a first round prospect, you're a second round prospect, or go back to school. Those are the only 3 grades they give.
Yep.
And he said to me, as we've talked about it, if it's a first round grade, I understand, and I tell the guys go get your money. But other than that, come back and let's continue to develop.
Yeah, it's the Mac Wilson, right, that goes in the 5th round, and he knew it going in.
There's Tagovailoa. He's crunched down, took a shot from Jaden Crumedy. No gain.
So you hold your breath, right, when there's nobody open and he starts to scramble. That you don't twist that leg. That's the risk you're taking with leaving it in there.
And Western Carolina is up next on the Alabama schedule for the game at Auburn. 3rd down and 11. Haven't heard the cowbells in a while. Getting loud. All sorts of time for Tagovailoa. And it's Devontae Smith. Has just enough for the first down. Gain of 13 on the play.
I'm surprised that Mississippi State's not bringing a little bit more pressure on Tua Tagovailoa. I get it. These guys are quick on the outside. You're going to play man-to-man anyway. You might as well bring some pressure. But if you let Tua Tagovailoa sit back there with nobody in his lap and throw the ball, you're asking for trouble.
Bit of a high snap. Tagovailoa able to bring it down. And Harris, maybe a loss, maybe back to the line of scrimmage. Crumedy was in there from Mississippi State, along with Brian Cole.
Yeah, really nice play by Jaden Crumedy, the redshirt freshman. His line mate on the interior, Fabian Levette, is also a redshirt freshman, playing a lot of young players. This Mississippi State defense, they were the #1 defense in the country a year ago, but no more Montez Sweat, Jeffrey Simmons, Jonathan Abram on the back end. They've got a lot of young players playing.
2nd down and 10. 9 to go in the half. Tagovailoa down the sideline. It's Devontae Smith for the catch. Gain of 34 on the play.
Talking about young players, true freshman Martin Emerson, #1, the corner. He gets isolated, and Devontae Smith, with that speed, just gets beyond him. That's tough duty as a true freshman, right? This is a Mississippi State defense that's playing without Maurice Smitherman, who got hurt, one of their most improved players in the spring, and they've had to play 2 true freshmen on the back end, Emerson and Jarian Jones.
So Brian Cole refers to them, Thing 1 and Thing 2. Those are their uniform numbers. On 1st and 10. Tagovailoa just too far out in front of Devontae Smith. 2nd incompletion for Tagovailoa.
Bob Shoop, defensive coordinator from Mississippi State, he likes to bring pressure. And in this area of the field, I would anticipate him starting to dial it up a little bit. There's Coach Shoup.
He said last year things were effortless on defense. They could call anything they wanted on defense. Check into, check out of it, no problem because of the skill they had. And some of the players who played so well for them last year that came back aren't as good because the stars are gone. More's falling on their shoulders, like Errol Thompson in the middle. Tagovailoa to Judy underneath, and he'll be pushed back. Aquarius Landrews, a stop, forward progress, gain of 3.
Nice job coming up, C.J. Morgan and Landers, as you said. That's what you have to do. Force them to throw the ball short, come up to make the tackle, and bring up a 3rd and long situation where you can bring some pressure on 3rd and 8. You got the linebackers coming. There's a fake snap count, and you see the linebacker comes up. Tua sees it, looks over to the sideline. And right now, Bob Shoup saw it, and they were going to audible, so Mississippi State decides to take a timeout.
And we'll take it with them. 7:38 to go in the half. Bama by 3 scores.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Experian Boost. Raise your credit scores instantly at Experian.com/boost.
39 years ago, Mississippi State beat top-ranked Alabama 6-3. Snapped Bama's 28-game win streak, ended a 22-game losing streak to the Crimson Tide. And wouldn't you know it, Bear Bryant went into the Mississippi State locker room to congratulate them after the game. Good sportsmanship. 3rd down and 8 for Alabama. Tagovailoa has all sorts of time to survey the field and complete to Jerry Jeudy. And we are over 300 yards of offense halfway through the 2nd quarter. Amazing.
You can say all you want about Jerry Jeudy and his speed, but watch him right here. He's right here, and he sees this defender. What does he do? He sits down in the pocket right there in zone coverage, friendly to the quarterback. We talk about how fast he is in his routes, but his knowledge of the game is second to none.
Good fake. Harris winds up with the ball, and they'll spot him about the 8-yard line. It's a gain of 4 on the play.
Judy's not as big as some of these receivers. He's not as fast as Ruggs, certainly. He's not as twitchy as Waddle. But you're right, he is, I think, I said it earlier, he's the best route runner in college football. And he has such a great sense, whether it's man-to-man, how to shake a guy, or zone, where to sit in that soft spot, and Tua knows he can rely on it.
That's the stuff that'll make him the #1 draft pick, Todd. To me, to be friendly to a quarterback like that is immeasurable.
Here is Jeudy. Turning the corner. And he'll be bumped out. Short of the 1st down. It's a gain of 2. And it will bring up 3rd down.
Used to watch Mark Ingram block, right, and Josh Jacobs block, and now you got Najee Harris out there. It's smart, you know, put your hands
in
up.
the air,
yeah.
Right. 3rd down and 2. Just outside the 5. It's Harris able to stand up in the end zone, touchdown. Najee Harris's 4th touchdown of the game.
That's just way too passive for Mississippi State defensively. You got guys that are in the end zone. You got 3 linebackers that aren't coming up and taking on blocks. Lewis gets blocked, Thompson gets blocked, and he just walks into the end zone. That's way too easy.
5 possessions by Alabama, and they've been perfect. And on this afternoon, even the extra point goes through. Again, Bama coming off the game of the century this season. Last week, at home against LSU, got off to a horrendous start. Trailed 33-13 at halftime. And then wound up outscoring LSU in the second half, 28-13. Outgained the Tigers 345 to 250 total yards in that second half. And all in all, it ends up as a 5-point loss, 46-41. And in talking about the doomsday and the disappointment, Nick Saban was very quick to point out, hey, LSU's really good. They got great players. They played a great game. So he wanted to certainly give them full marks. And here they are.
There you go, Mac Jones warming up, right?
I thought it was going to be after the first drive.
35-7. Yeah, I don't think he's going to wait for halftime. If they get a 2-minute situation here at the end of the half, it'll be Mac Jones, and I can't disagree with him.
Do you want to look ahead to next week in Western Carolina? What do you do there? Who do you start a quarterback there? Too soon?
Oh, well, I don't think there's any reason, why you need to play Tua Tagovailoa in that game.
So you wouldn't?
Yeah.
And honestly, you would not have played him here today?
I would not have. I would not have started him.
And get him 100%.
I would have let Mac Jones go out and play and see how it went and go from there. You can always bring Tua off the bench if you need to.
Here's Molly.
Well, Steve, after Najee Harris's 4th touchdown of the day, Tua Tagovailoa walked off to the sideline and shook everyone's hands on the sideline. So there was a sense of finality to it, like, okay, I did my job here. And then he walked off. Now medical training staff was just tending to him. He has a little bit of blood on his right arm, but it looks like he may be done for now. We'll see as Mac Jones is warming up.
Yeah, the arm is not the concern. It's the ankle. Of course, they're so worried about. We were told he aggravated a little soreness during the week. Had a good week of practice. And there you see the numbers.
Aggravated a little bit. Watching that game last week, that takes a lot out of you, and that's an injury that can easily flare up on you.
On the ground, Isaiah Zuber, the wide receiver. Patrick Surtain forced him out, gain of 2 on the play. And after the game last week, Tagovailoa on Instagram said the game needed loving. I gave it my heart. Really, everybody on both sides talked about the warrior-like qualities of Tagovailoa playing the way he did. Some people called it an off week for him. He threw for over 400 yards, had 4 touchdowns and 1 interception a week ago.
Yeah, in those kinds of games, it's not about the numbers, though, right? It's about the impact plays. And so the fumble, obviously, the interception in the first half, it was too much for them to overcome. Now, they can overcome against other teams, but against LSU, that game was lost in the first half.
Pressure. Tommy Stevens off his back foot, just throws it up and nearly intercepted. McKinney tried to run underneath. And here's Matt Barry.
All right, guys, remarkable touchdown here in the Texas Tech TCU game. Watch Jet Duffy avoid the pressure, stay alive, and find Dalton Rigdon, 25-yarder. There was a whole lot of bad that ended up good for Texas Tech.
Tough year for TCU. Not used to seeing them in this position.
Oh, well, last week against Baylor, I mean, it was 9-6.
Yeah.
And they were going to win that game.
Deserved a better fate last week.
Oh, my goodness.
Sometimes, some years just doesn't go your way. Here's 3rd down and 8. Stevens under pressure, was hit up high as he released. And down the sideline for Stephen Guidry. And there is a flag down. Surtain had the coverage. I thought he took a shot up high. We'll see.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense, 15-yard penalty, previous spot, automatic first down.
It's Xavier McKinney that came through, and that's a tough spot. You're trying, what they're teaching these defenders, they're trying to get the ball, right? You're trying to block the ball so you're automatically high, and then when the ball is gone, you're still high, and then the hands hit the head, and they're going to call a personal foul.
5th personal foul against Alabama. And we still got 5 minutes left before halftime.
Say what you want about Tommy Stevens. This guy is tough. I mean, he is taking a beating, and he just keeps popping up. His decision-making has been erratic. He's just not getting a lot of help, too, from his wide receivers.
Alabama has more penalty yards so far in this game than Mississippi State has yards on offense. Back on the ground to Kylan Hill. Out to the 35. Hill said this was a spotlight game. He goes, the whole country is watching when you're involved in a game against Alabama. You want to play your best. He understands all the scouts that would be in attendance. You want to play your best against the best. And Mississippi State not measuring up so far here today, 35-7, although Hill's doing everything he can do. couple of years ago in a night game here, Mississippi State pushed Alabama to the brink. And when they were hoping for some more Davis-Wade magic here this afternoon. Not so far. Here's Hill again trying to turn the corner. And he will launch himself into Shane Lee and go out of bounds after the gain of 3. That's 3 tough yards right there.
Well, you know he's going to compete. Kylan Hill, he's not going to back down from anybody. He was challenged by Joe Moorhead a couple of weeks ago. Challenged off the field. You know his talent on the field, but Joe wanted to see him prepare more. He said, listen, everybody's watching you and how you prepare for games. You could go out there and play well without the attention to detail, but you can't be great. And he challenged him in the last couple of weeks against A&M and Arkansas. He had 150 yards and 234 yards on the ground, and he's responded off the field as well.
Said, don't be a ball carrier expert. Do some other things away from the football. And he's tried to do that and said he answered the challenge. See if Zuber got a foot in. Say no, he did not. Out of bounds. Good effort there by Isaiah Zuber.
It's the little things too. The snap is just a little bit off to the left. It turns Tommy Stevens around, and then he's a little bit late on the throw.
Yep, and that because he's late on the throw, the receiver is further towards the sideline, and that's exactly what happens is you don't convert. This is a Mississippi State team that's been looking for a passing game for a long time. Since Dak Prescott, they haven't had a receiver with more than 27 catches in a season in the last 3 years. So this is nothing new.
There's Tucker Daly, former amateur hockey player, junior Nashville Predators. And Jalen Waddle will get a shot to return one. Staying on his feet, running around. It's a 39-yard punt in the end. We'll give him 8 on the return. It appears as Tua is done for the day. So we'll say hi to Mac Jones at quarterback for Alabama when we come back.
For the Lexus halftime report, Alabama, how much do style points matter for them to get back into the playoff conversation? Plus Florida in a fight on the road against Missouri, and Penn State needs to bounce back after their loss last week. Jesse Palmer, Joey Galloway join me coming up on the Lexus halftime report.
All right, Matt, we might have jumped the gun a little bit on putting Tua's day to bed. Tua Tagovailoa is still in there. That's Brian Robinson on the run for 6 yards up the middle.
I think Tua might have been lobbying, and Nick Saban comes into the huddle here, and there's Tua. He goes over to Nick and says, hey, let me get one more. Just one more, Coach. What do you think? You don't see Nick Saban smile very often, but I think he cracks a smile here right there.
You know, we had Molly's report earlier. He went down the sideline, all his offensive teammates shaking everybody's hands as if he was done for the day. And not the case, and that goes incomplete. Pressure there coming from Brian Cole. Molly?
Well, Steve, I think Mac Jones thought that he was going, and he was warming up. He was jumping around really jittery like he was going to be the starter, and then he went into the huddle. Tua started talking to the team, and Jones started to go to the periphery of the huddle and then came back to the sideline, but he's still on edge, ready to go in.
I'm on edge, too, right now.
Are you really?
It seems like it.
At 35-7. That's about the drama, right? When will Tua check out for the afternoon? Bama's had 5 possessions, 5 touchdowns. And looking for more in the final 3 minutes of this first half. Comes out throwing. On the run. Pressure from behind. And that's where Nick Saban is thinking, where's Mac Jones?
He's down. And Tua's down. His helmet came off. This is exactly what you did not want to see happen. And sometimes as a coach, you just got to listen to your gut. And I think Nick wanted to take him out. And Tua talked him back into it. And hopefully this isn't serious. We've seen this from a couple of times this season where he's gotten hurt because he's extending a play and then he gets tackled from behind. And the problem with that is you don't see it coming, and then they roll up on your lower legs, and that's how he got hurt initially this season in the Tennessee game.
Standing a few yards away from it. Looks like it might be his nose or his head. Something.
Todd, we're showing it again here, the replay. Those 2 players sort of collapse upon him.
Yeah, and his head, his face mask hits the ground almost first.
It's not his lower body.
Well, that's good news. And if it's just something.
Yeah, they're putting on gloves. He's bleeding.
Marquise Spencer and Leo Lewis. Just about the full weight of both of them on Tagovailoa there. And the helmet comes off. You see instantly in pain. And the stadium, even on the road, has gone silent.
Well, he's up, and hopefully that's just a bloody nose.
It looks like a bloody nose
situation,
exactly.
you know. But
in a lot of pain. He was grabbing onto the trainer.
Well, he's not putting any weight on that right leg either.
Right, if it's just a bloody nose, he's walking off in a hurry.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Now, this is the sight Nick Saban obviously did not want to see. And up 35-7, the natural reaction is, why is he still out there?
And you love Tagovailoa for wanting to play, for pleading his case.
Nick's walking over now.
If in fact that was the conversation, one more series, let me go till halftime. And Saban's running onto the field now. There's Nick. And the cart is being rolled onto the field as well as we speak.
Well, yeah, I think the point here is if it were just his nose, then he'd be walking off the field straight to the locker room. The fact that they're bringing this card out.
He's putting no pressure on his right leg.
Oh, my goodness.
Mom and dad in attendance, as they are at all the games. And this is the video that is now being watched coast to coast. And the decision to start him in the game and keep him in the game at 35-7 with some 4 minutes left in the first half. That will be discussed, dissected, and argued, certainly for this coming week, and maybe more beyond that.
Go back and take a look to see if we can see his ankle get rolled up. We obviously saw the helmet come off.
You saw Talia, number 5. That is Tua's younger brother. He's the third-string quarterback for Alabama. And a nice ovation here from the Mississippi State crowd for Tua Tagovailoa. Fourth down. And Alabama's punting for the first time. Dedrick Thomas on the return after a 41-yard punt. But the story here, Tua Tagovailoa taken down from behind by 2 players. Bloody nose, unable to put any weight on that right leg. Carted off here today in Starkville. We'll be right back. Tua Tagovailoa in the Alabama locker room. And the Crimson Tide defense on the field. First down and 10 for Mississippi State at their own 26. And it's Kylan Hill on the ground trying to turn the corner. A flag comes in. It's a gain of 9. We'll check the marker. Molly is standing by. She's got the very latest on Tagovailoa.
Holding on the offense, number 78. The penalty is 10 yards from the spot of the foul. Repeat, first down.
Molly.
Yeah, Steve, you saw Tua Tagovailoa was carted back to the locker room. He was screaming in pain. His medical training staff had to pick him up and carry him off the cart. He is going for x-rays right now, and the first report is that it is his right hip, not his right ankle, that's injured.
Thank you, Molly.
Yeah, you can see his right knee went down with both of those defenders on top of him, and he grabs his hip right when he rolls over there, before he rolls over, and then all the attention went to his nose. But really the real problem here is the hip, and that knee that goes down and it reacts into his hip, and he was in a lot of pain.
Quick screen out to Kylan Hill. That's what I got from the Molly report, screaming in pain.
Well, you just hope. We've seen this a couple of times in football, right? The Bo Jackson situation. And see how that right knee goes down and those guys are on top of him, and when that knee goes down, his body's going forward, that joint gets stressed. And see him grab it there, that's what I'm worried about. And hopefully it's that you see how much pain. He'd never put any weight on that right side.
Yeah, the bloody nose is so secondary.
And that's the same side he had the ankle injury on, but I don't think that's what that was.
Tommy Stevens thrown as he was hit. Able to complete the short pass to Nick Gibson out of the backfield. Gain of 5 play. And of course, Molly will do her best the rest of the afternoon to get you the very latest on Tua Tagovailoa. See if we hear from Nick Saban before halftime. And of course, he won't know anything about the status, but he will be questioned about A, starting Tua, and B, keeping him in a lopsided first half.
Well, when he ran all the way across the field, he wanted to know, is this just a bloody nose or is there something wrong with the ankle? And when they told him hip, I'm sure he wasn't anticipating that, and that was not good news.
There's 3rd and 13. Pressure on Stevens, steps up out of it, and will run for 2 yards. Raekwon Davis brought him down, and Davis is getting up slowly. Well, not getting up at all for now. That's Raekwon Davis. He was injured earlier in the half, and he's down on the turf for the 2nd time.
Boy, Raekwon Davis, they're holding that left ankle, and one of their most talented players on the defensive side coming back. A lot of people thought he might leave a year ago. He made the decision to forego the NFL and come back because he said last year was not him. He wanted to be more of a leader this season. And with all the injuries that Alabama has suffered on the defensive side, predominantly at linebacker, be a big loss to lose Raekwon Davis. Here's 99.
He's put absolutely no pressure on his left leg.
Yeah, friendly fire. It was Barmore that came over and caught his left ankle underneath Barmore.
Davis being helped off the field now.
They're already starting 4 true freshmen in the front 7 between DJ Dale, Justin Eboigbe, and then the 2 linebackers, Harris and Lee.
And Dale was injured earlier today as well.
Yep. We saw Alabama in the opener in Atlanta against Duke. They started 7 freshmen. That was tied for most in the country, along with UMass. You never see Alabama and UMass in the same sentence. Starting to wear out Tucker Davis, Tucker Day, I beg your pardon, the punter for Mississippi State. So we wind down the final 10 seconds of the half. Got a little pressure. Cajo nearly got there for Alabama. And on the return, there's a seam for Jalen Waddle. And he's up to midfield. So that is the half. And I can't imagine a worse half for Alabama in which they lead 35-7.
That's a good point.
Right? This score flashed around the country, and you think it's all good for the Crimson Tide, and it's not. Down to Molly.
Coach, what can you tell us about Tua Tagovailoa?
Well, he hurt his hip, so I don't know anything else more than that. They took him in to look at him, so we'll see what's happening. That was going to be his last series. We were going to do 2 minutes before the half with him just for practice, and, you know, of course, we got to block him better so he doesn't get sacked, but too bad.
It looked like Mac Jones was warming up to Tua lobby to stay in.
No, we were going to put Mac in, and then we said, well, we'll let Tua do 2 minutes before the half just for practice. And, you know, I don't worry about players getting hurt, but certainly don't want to see anybody get hurt, especially him.
All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.
All right, Molly. So that's not the story. 35 to back in a still stunned Starkville, Mississippi. 35-7. Alabama leads Mississippi State, but that is not the story of the first half. The story revolves around Tua Tagovailoa. About 3 minutes left in that second quarter. He was taken down from behind, wound up with a bloody nose, and what we were told was a hip injury. Molly had a chance to catch up with Nick Saban just before halftime.
Hurt his hip, so I don't know anything else more than that. They took him in to look at him, so we'll see what's happening. That was going to be his last series. We were going to do 2 minutes before the half with him just for practice, and, you know, of course, we got to block him better so he doesn't get sacked, but too bad.
And we knew we would see Mac Jones a quarterback for Alabama. We just did not know when or the circumstances surrounding that. Mississippi State will get the football first, regardless. And a fair catch. We'll bring it out to the 25 as we welcome you back into the broadcast booth. Steve Levy along with Brian Greasy, and it's our understanding that Tua is still in the building. You know, we'd expect was carted off, maybe some x-rays, could go to a local hospital, but Tuscaloosa is only a 15-minute drive from here. To get them right back home to all their own medical people.
Yeah, I think the first thing is you hope for the best for Tua Tagovailoa. That did not look good. The hip is not something that you want to mess around with. So, you know, but hindsight's going to be 20/20. You know, everybody's going to have an opinion whether he should or shouldn't have been out there. To me, the thing that was a little bit different was Mac Jones was warming up on the sideline. Okay, and so. Did Mac Jones know he was going to go in? Did somebody tell him, hey, warm up, get ready to go in? And then Nick make a change in his decision to give Tua, as he mentioned, practice in a 2-minute drill? I don't think Tua Tagovailoa needs any more practice, right? Like, you're up 35-7. If it were me, you know, he wouldn't have been out there. But
well, you said you wouldn't even have started him in the game to begin with.
If it was a game-time decision and you're up 35-7, right. I'm not sure why he's out there.
Couldn't have been more perfect on Alabama's offense. They had 5 possessions. Their first 5 all went for touchdowns. Here's Tommy Stevens breaking one down the middle of the field and still running to the 30. And sort of taken down, tripped up inside the 25 of Alabama. It's a second big run for Stevens. That one goes for 46.
Well, you know what Joe Moorhead was saying in the locker room at halftime? Let's come out and let's win the second half, right? We're going to compete. We're trying to build a culture here in Starkville. And on this first drive, they've come out and run the ball on the ground.
Stevens will hand off to Kylan Hill. Came in as the leading rusher in the SEC, just 1 yard there. Right. So much on the line for Alabama with Tagovailoa still to be decided in these next few weeks. Again, Western Carolina at home next week, and they go to Auburn for the big one on November the 30th.
We've talked a lot about Tua, but they're both starting defensive tackles were injured in the first half as well. DJ Dale and Raekwon Davis are out of this football game.
You could not have a worse 35-7 lead in college football. Dedrick Thomas took it off the grass.
Todd. Guys, I went in to talk to Joe Moorhead at halftime. We usually talk right when he comes out. And I walked up the tunnel, and I physically just I looked up the tunnel, and the cart is up there, and there's a lot of Alabama security outside the door, and that door leads to where the X-ray facility is. So presumably Tua is still in there going through X-rays, and the cart is there to bring him where he has to go next.
And that would speak to the severity of the situation. And again, you were trying to talk to the Mississippi State head coach.
Exactly.
Having nothing to do with Alabama. Here's Stevens on the run. And he's tripped up by McKinney, who's had a nice game for Alabama on that defense gain of 2 on the play. And bring up 4th down.
Well, you see Joe Moorhead deciding he knows that both those defensive tackles are out. And so backups in, a lot of true freshmen up front for Alabama, and they're trying to attack them right between the tackles with their big physical quarterback at 235 pounds.
And that's where Hill's been at his best. Some 80% of his yardage on the ground this season has been between the tackles.
4th down.
And 2. Looks like a long 2. It is Hill. It is between the tackles. Try to reach for it, and I don't think he got there. Anthony Jennings and Christian Harris made sure of it. I think he's short.
Well, you're not going to fool Anthony Jennings. He's just too experienced, too patient. He knew exactly what he was getting there. He held the end of line of scrimmage, waited for the ball to be delivered, and then made the tackle for the stop on 4th down.
They don't need to look at it. They don't need to bring the sticks out. Not even close. And so despite the running of Stevens on that opening drive of the 3rd quarter, Bulldogs turn it over on downs. And we'll see Mac Jones.
Well, Max Jones got some playing time in Tennessee. They were really conservative with him in the second half of that Tennessee game. Then he came out and played against Arkansas. They didn't throw the ball a whole lot downfield against Arkansas. But you know, now it's his team. The rest of this game, and you would imagine next game for sure, and who knows after that. Go back and look at this spot on 4th down. Great effort by Kylan Hill, but you see Jennings there. Reaches out, the hand is down, so he's not down yet. I think that was a good spot right on the 15-yard line, which is short of the 1st down.
Excellent live officiating. Yep. A phrase not often heard. Stripes doing a good job on this one. Mac Jones has plenty of experience. This will be the 9th game he's played in anyway. Usually in mop-up duty after Alabama has a big lead. They have a big lead here as well, 35-7.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. It's 1st down, Alabama.
Well, this is an important half of football for Alabama and the rest of this season. There's a lot of question marks with respect to Tua's health, and so where is Mac Jones going to take you? This half is an opportunity for him to gain the trust of the rest of this team.
1st down and 10 from their own 15. Jones will throw and complete to Jerry Jeudy. Jeudy will make a couple people miss. Again, Molly with Nick Saban prior to the half on the decision to let him stay in the game.
No, we were going to put Mac in, and then we said we'll let Tua do 2 minutes before the half just for practice. And you know, I don't worry about players getting hurt, but certainly don't want to see anybody get hurt, especially him.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Yeah, the telling thing there is him saying we were going to put Mac in, and then we let him do the 2 minute for practice. And it seems like he had made a decision to go with Mac, and then for whatever reason he changed his mind, and that's the thing at 35-7. Why leave him in there?
Najee Harris still on his feet. He's out to the 47-yard line, gain of 20 on that play. Jones was warming up, and Tua was shaking hands with his offensive teammates on the sideline, which gave you every indication that he was done at that point for the afternoon. And we went to commercial break, and all of us were surprised that Jones was out and Tagovailoa was still in the game at quarterback for Alabama.
You know, and Nick's right. You know, you don't ever expect somebody to get hurt. You're not playing for somebody to get hurt. You don't make those decisions, but the risk associated with it is kind of what you're trying to mitigate at that point in the game.
Harris, nice spin move. Close to another first down. It's a gain of 8 on the play. And Mac Jones comes out firing.
Well, yeah, so if you're Steve Sarkisian, right, and you got a new quarterback and you don't know how long you're going to have this quarterback this season, come out, run the offense, show some confidence in him, let him throw the football on first down, let him get some rhythm with these starting wide receivers. Again, he played the entire Arkansas game, so he's had some reps, but this is a different scenario. It has a different feel to it based on what happened to Tua in the first half.
C.J. Morgan down from Mississippi State. We'll step out.
On a Suspicious Fansville by Dr. Pepper.
Hey.
Back in Starkville now, C.J. Morgan remains down on the field. The junior from Louisiana, starter at free safety. And we're not going to show you the replay.
Yeah,
non-contact injury.
Yeah, he came up and he was trying to make the tackle on the outside and his left knee buckled and did not look good. We hope for the best for C.J. Morgan.
And he was just getting back in the lineup after not playing in their last game against Arkansas. And he is down and out right now. And they're wearing the stretcher out here in Starkville. Down to Molly McGrath on the field.
Steve, there's a wall of security in the tunnel that leads to the x-ray room where Tua Tagovailoa is. I was just escorted back to the sideline because they want to keep me and other people away from the tunnel. Alabama's medical training staff is running around. They have EMTs on hand, but still no sign of Tua right now, Steve.
That's how Molly will spend the rest of her afternoon.
Feel for these kids, right?
Yeah.
These kids are doing everything they possibly can, going to class, student athletes, trying to chase their dreams. The C.J. Morgans, just as important as Tua Tagovailoa,
yes.
right? And
well said.
You feel for these kids, right?
And they are. They're college kids, right?
Yeah.
They're not getting paid. These are not professional athletes. And the majority of them, some 95%, will never play in the league.
And no matter how much, you know, the coaches, you know, Nick Saban was trying to tell us that last week was too emotional for his team. This is an emotional game, right? These players become best friends with their teammates, and to see them carted off like this, both teams, in back-to-back drives, it's tough.
Good look by C.J. Morgan there with a thumbs up and the wave to everybody, letting his people know he's okay. 2nd down and 2. Harris, good second effort, still on his feet. Such a hard-nosed downhill runner. Gets 9 when there was nothing there.
When you think about Mississippi State now emotionally, right? The score is 35-7, and it's hard to get out there and compete and fight in the second half when you're getting a big physical downhill run game, and then you lose one of your leaders on defense and C.J. Morgan, and we'll see if they're able to muster up enough here to slow down Alabama.
Mac Jones throwing into an open area, and Henry Ruggs fills that area in a hurry. And it's a gain of 25, and Mac Jones has looked pretty good.
That's a good throw from Mac Jones on a corner route. You know, reading the defense. This is as good a situation as you could hope for as a backup quarterback, obviously, with the lead that they have in the second half, to come out and just operate the offense. There's no stress on him in this football game. Come out and execute.
And you're filling Mac Jones with confidence And again, we don't want to speculate. No one knows how long they're going to need Mac Jones for. Nothing doing that time for Najee Harris. Harold Thompson made sure of that. Loss of 1 on the play. Thompson, one of those heart and soul guys from Mississippi State. Guy who patterns himself, he said, after Luke Kuechly and Bobby Wagner. 2 pretty good players in the league, speaking of which. And you know it's a big game for Thompson. He's an Alabama kid. On the ground, Harris. He'll lean forward. Spencer to stop, gain of 1 on the play. Grease does the injury to Tagovailoa with a score at 35-7. You think Nick Saban is more likely to remove some other starters from this game? I'm just saying, Najee Harris taking on contact every single time he carries the football.
Yep, I don't think there's any question. He probably came out of halftime and said, look, this offensive line, Najee, you guys have 1 drive. But also, they might have his starting quarterback out here now, so you got to think about Mac Jones, how much you want to play him.
There's Ruggs. He takes a big shot. And Henry Ruggs looks shaken up now.
Wow. You throw that wide receiver screen, and those receivers are coming back towards the middle of the field, and there's a lot of big bodies coming inside out. And Nick Saban's got to be thinking, what is going on?
Took a big shot, made to the ribs from Harold Thompson. We'll be right back. And we believe that is Tua Tagovailoa behind the Mississippi State sign there, being shielded on his way out, likely into the ambulance and out of the stadium. Tagovailoa goes down. A couple of key defensive linemen from Alabama. Henry Ruggs shaken up. And the field goal good. 22-yard field goal by Joseph Bulovas. And it's 38-7 Alabama. The outcome of the game never in doubt here.
Well, we were talking before the break, about do you start taking out some of the starters if you're Nick Saban? I think you have a decision to make on the offensive side. If you think that Tua Tagovailoa is seriously injured, it may not return at some point this season, then Mac Jones becomes your starting quarterback.
Much more valuable to keep him healthy.
And then, then you got to keep him healthy, and so you can't take out all the offensive line and leave your starting quarterback out there. So then you go to Taulia Tagovailoa, the younger brother. So he's a true freshman. They probably want to redshirt him. He's played in 3 games this season, so he's got 1 more game he could potentially play in and save that redshirt. So a lot going on over there for Nick Saban on the sideline.
And here's the other thing. I genuinely believe Saban doesn't know. Nick at this point can't know the severity for sure of Tagovailoa's injury. So he's got to make these decisions without knowing all the information, and that's difficult as well. And so we see Ruggs get hurt. You want to keep the receivers in there so they get some real reps with Mac Jones for going forward.
Yep.
This is tricky stuff here.
Be interesting. He's already playing a lot of young players on defense. There's not as much to do on defense, but certainly the offense, when they get the ball back, be interesting to see who comes out.
The glare of the sun and the fair catch. Get an update. Things happening elsewhere. Here's Matt Barry.
Okay, Steve Levy checking in on the Gators. We finally had a touchdown between Florida and Missouri. Kyle Trask to Josh Hammond. 34-yard touchdown there, 13-6 Gators. What about Indiana Penn State after a fake punt gone bad? Journey Brown, 35 yards. Penn State, a little separation right now, 27-14.
Penn State looking to bounce back in a big way after that disappointing loss at Minnesota last week.
They're not out of it, right? If they can rebound some way, find a way to beat Ohio State, right?
I think Michigan shows up for that last game against Ohio State. These Alabama fans are certainly hoping. Alabama needs a mess in front of them. That's what they need. They need total chaos in front of them from everybody.
Honestly,
Kylan Hill, the ball carrier, down to Todd McShay.
I'm standing in this tunnel. As you can see, there's an ambulance in here, and they're getting ready to move it out. I was cleared out by Alabama security, so presumably that's the ambulance that Tua Tagovailoa is going to go in. There now, you can see all the security and Alabama folks are surrounding the ambulance. So obviously we wish him well, but I'm not allowed to be in the tunnel anymore.
Get out of there, McShay.
You got it, bud.
We just hope that it's not serious. You know, I mean, but the way he went down did not look good.
And I'm curious where that ambulance is going. It'd be easy to say he's going to the hospital. Tuscaloosa is some 50-minute drive from here. They might be taking him right back home, if not for the fact they have to have the ambulance back here at the stadium. Farrod Green, his first touch, and it goes to 30 yards. Tommy Stevens out of the gun now. First down and 10. Stevens from the 45. Inside handoff to Hill. Down to the 35. Gain of 5 on the play. 6 minutes to play here in the third quarter. If you're just joining us, Alabama scored touchdowns on their first 5 possessions. Had a 14-0 lead 2 minutes into the game. And then with about 3 minutes to play, up 35-7. Tagovailoa went down, taken down from behind by 2 Mississippi State defenders. A bloody nose, and that was hardly the worst of it. Believed to be a hip injury. Headed out of the stadium now. Hill taken down by Christian Harris. Gain of 6 on the play, and another injured player. This time it's Kylan Hill. Players continue to drop here.
Well, Kylan Hill got held up. Christian Harris, the linebacker, made a great play and kind of got him stood up. And then 2 or 3 more Alabama players. Terrell Lewis comes and gets a hit, and then Shane Lee right from the back.
Yeah, Harris had him around the legs. And then the late shot up high. There's Kylan Hill. While we were in commercial, being assisted off the field. Hey, it's been that kind of day. It's been that kind of game. Hard-hitting affair. Players from both sides going down. And big-name players, not just Tua Tagovailoa. Third down and 11 now for Mississippi State. Bama brings some pressure. Stevens able to get out of there. Throwing on the run and completing. Now they needed 11, they got 10. Osiris Mitchell on the receiving end. And it's going to be 4th down, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's a great job by Tommy Stevens just extending the play. Barmore was free, rusher in the backfield, and looked like Mitchell's foot, was his foot out of bounds? His left, yes,
yeah,
his left foot there is out of bounds.
So just an incomplete pass.
Timeout, Mississippi State. First timeout of the half.
I think if you're Joe Moorhead, you got a decision to make here. Probably should go for it here at in this position on the field, 4th and 10.
Yeah, this will be the top story around the country in college football. Maybe more so than any result, depending upon what happens. With a 35-7 lead late in the second quarter, Tagovailoa taken down from behind by a couple of Bulldog defenders there. Came up with a bloody nose. Nick Saban said hip injury. And this was the scene moments ago. Leaving the stadium. Destination unknown in an ambulance.
Honestly, if you're an Alabama fan, Are you thinking about the playoff right now?
Right.
Probably not.
No.
Like you're thinking about Tua Tagovailoa.
His well-being, some pressure on Day. They punt from that part of the field on 4th and 11. Goes a 28-yard punt, and Bama will be backed up.
There's so many layers to this, right? Obviously, Tua and his health as an individual and a student athlete and a player, and then you've got kind of where that leaves Alabama and Mac Jones in particular. You've got, you know, the playoff conversation, and you know, there was a lot of questions as to whether Alabama was a playoff caliber team coming into this game after what happened against LSU, and they fought valiantly and lost by 5.
Right.
Is there a way for them to get back in the playoff conversation? And now another layer of complexity without Tua Tagovailoa potentially for the committee to think about.
And the committee does take into account injuries.
But it's safe to say, listen, this Alabama team is definitely not the same with Mac Jones at quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa.
And a lot of people thought they didn't even belong in the conversation then based on their schedule leading up to the LSU game. Then with the loss, so with Tua, if he's not expected to be a playoff team or the path is difficult, then there's no chance without Tua.
Yeah.
That just disappears.
Well, the reality is that, you know, Texas A&M, you could argue, is their best win to date, and you know, maybe they have one. If they're able to beat Auburn at the end of the year, maybe they would have one top 25 win.
Right.
That just wasn't going to guarantee them anything.
Jones throwing in, completing to Devontae Smith. It's a gain of 18. We asked Nick yesterday about the path to the playoffs. He said, yeah, the only path is we have to win all our games, and he knows they need to hope for something else to happen. But he also said there was some disappointment in the fact that, you know, 11-1 is not good enough. It's been an unbelievable run at Alabama, and probably to their fans, the faithful, 11-1 would not be enough. As you look at the college football playoff rankings.
Well, I think coming into this game, you're talking about, okay, well, what do they look like against a one-loss Oregon team potentially? You see a completion there to Devontae Smith, and how would that compare at the end of the season if Oregon or Utah, right, were able to win the Pac-12 championship, and then you have that common opponent that Oregon would have lost to Auburn at the beginning of the year, and Alabama theoretically, if they were able to beat Auburn, what that conversation would look like.
Amazing, right? So the Auburn game for the two respective schools, first one was in August.
Yeah.
Okay, August, compared to the last game of the regular season. College football playoff rankings brought to you by Chick-fil-A. Devontae Smith got some running room. There is a flag down as Smith runs down the sideline, forced out inside the 5. The flag is all the way back on the 48 of Alabama. If it stands, it's 46 yards on the gains, the officials discuss.
I think this is going to go against Alabama. This is going to come back.
Illegal motion, offense number 6. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat, first down.
Smith wipes out his own explosive there.
See if we can see what happened here. I think he was on the line of scrimmage and stepped off the line of scrimmage and then came in motion. And that's why they called the illegal motion. You got to get off the line of scrimmage, stop, and then come in motion.
Injuries are the story, obviously, for Alabama, but penalties also are just killing them today. It's going to drive Nick Saban crazy.
And that's been an issue all season, Todd.
Yep.
Been among the worst in flags throughout the SEC. Brian Robinson is the ball carrier. It's a gain of 3 on the play. Here's Molly with an injury update. There are plenty to choose from, Molly.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Mississippi State C.J. Morgan is dealing with a lower body injury. That's all they'll give me, but he is out for the game. We don't know the severity of it yet, but he's still being evaluated, Steve.
Yeah, Mississippi State, they operate much like in hockey. Upper body, lower body, and that's it. They will not be more specific on their injuries. With 2 minutes to play here in the third quarter. And Alabama with a 38-7 lead. And the score and the outcome has become really an afterthought. So focused on the Alabama side of things. For Mississippi State, they knew coming into this game they needed 2 wins in their final 3 games to become bowl eligible for a program record 10th consecutive season. That is something that is very important here in Starkville. They are very proud of. And their schedule, they've got Abilene Christian up next, and then Ole Miss, the Egg Bowl. Bulldogs finish with their final 3 games all here at home. You see the numbers on Mac Jones, rather impressive. Third down and 4. In and out of the hands of Brian Robinson. And it's 4th down.
Yeah, Mac Jones got to make that throw. It's a screen set up nicely. There's a lot of green grass out in front, and you want to put the ball on the running back, right? A little bit out in front of him, and missed opportunity.
Looked like for a second Alabama was going to go for it, and a late change. Jones off, and the punter on. It's Ty Perine, got a true freshman punter. And they let it bounce, and it will be down inside the 10-yard line. It's a 37-yard punt. In that case, it's a perfect punt.
Steve, Mississippi State's running back Kylan Hill is out for the game with an upper body injury. As for Alabama, their nose guard DJ Dale was dealing with a right knee injury in the first half. His helmet is on the sideline without him. He's unlikely to return, and I have not seen Raekwon Davis on the sideline either. They told me he is unlikely to return as well.
Molly's work doing a day and a half today. Tons to follow. Byron Young, the stop after the gain of 3.
I didn't see the DJ Dale injury, but I did. That Raekwon injury to his left ankle looked bad. I mean, that's one of your stalwarts on that defensive line for Alabama.
The rare senior back there,
and such a good story too. After struggling last year and not playing like he wanted to, and he said it was his family. It wasn't the coaching staff. It was his family that told him go back to school.
Here's Tommy Stevens. This has been Mississippi State's best offense. Tommy Stevens run up the middle and an awkward slide after a gain of 12.
This was the hit on Raekwon Davis, number 99 there. Barmore, his line mate, just kind of, that happens from time to time, that you get friendly fire back there, and these guys are so big with so much power, and when they put a foot in the ground and then another big defensive lineman comes and hits the lower body, they suffer a lot of injuries that way.
Look at the big name injuries for Alabama today. And that's how the third quarter comes to an end. Questions to be answered, just not about the outcome. You recognize that guy? Look familiar to you?
I don't know, but he's handsome.
Oh, the T or the W?
Taco Bell is celebrating student sections and passionate fans like these by awarding the Liv Moss Student Section of the Year. The Mississippi State Bulldogs Student Section already on the national watch list. Go to ESPN.com/Taco Bell. See how your school can compete or get the committee's attention by using the hashtag Liv Moss Student Section Contest. Anthony Jennings, the big hit on Tommy Stevens for a loss of 4 on the play. They played Don't Stop Believin' by Journey, as is their recent tradition between the third and fourth quarters here.
Looked like the guard was supposed to kick out Anthony Jennings there and just didn't get there in time. Jennings reads that play and comes upfield. Such a smart football player. He's going to play in the NFL.
Oh.
He's not the biggest, he's not the fastest,
but he produces every week. And he was the best player on the field, I thought, defensively for Alabama against LSU.
Just does everything well. Should be enough to play on Sunday. Flag down as Stevens takes off.
Does everything well except he just jumped off sides.
I mean, every time.
That'll put Stevens over 100 yards rushing. 17 yards on that last game.
Offside, defense number 33. Penalty is declined. Result of the play, first down.
Well, we saw this a week ago a couple times, but it was the other side in Terrell Lewis offsides, and this time it's Anthony Jennings just a half a step.
Stevens rushing has been their best, maybe only the offense from Mississippi State. Kylan Hill has rushed for just 35 yards, and that's before he was injured and lost for the remainder of the game. On the ground, it's Nick Gibson. So Stevens is the present as he winds things down. The backup quarterback here is Garrett Schrader. They're excited about him. Can do a lot of things, true freshman. And what's interesting is the link between Stevens and Schrader. Schrader was recruited to Penn State when Joe Moorhead was there. Went on his visit, was actually hosted by Tommy Stevens. Wow. And here they are together for a little while at Mississippi State. But Schrader, we didn't get a chance to speak to Schrader. We talked to Stevens. Sounds like Schrader is a different kind of cat.
We were talking to Kylan Hill, and we asked him to describe him, and he said he's interesting.
With that beard, he did look like the most interesting man. Stevens will throw this time. And Stephen Guidry could not hang on, and Xavier McKinney made sure of that.
It's been a disappointing year for Mississippi State. You know, there was a lot of talk. They knew they had lost a lot on the defensive side, and they weren't going to replace that, and they weren't going to be as good defensively. But they were excited about Tommy Stevens coming over from Penn State and Kylan Hill and their potential to run the football, and Joe Moorhead and his second year getting an opportunity to implement his offense, and it just hasn't come together. And losing 4 in a row in the middle of the season really killed them.
Sounds like they've had consecutive top 25 recruiting classes, so help might be on the way. Here's Guidry, set up the screen to him, and he's able to get the first down yardage. Shane Lee put a good hit on Tommy Stevens there as Stevens released.
Tommy Stevens is going to compete all 4 quarters.
And building on your point, I think offensive line, they're good. They've got a quarterback for the future. Joe Moorhead said it, and we see it on tape. They need to upgrade their wide receiver position. Yeah. They need difference makers in this league.
So I just want to take back something I said about Tommy Stevens. They took a shot.
Yeah, that was not a shot.
Really did not take a shot. After further review, quarterback did not take a shot. There's Gibson. Forced out of bounds by Patrick Surtain. Surtain's dad ever pick you off? He must have intercepted you a couple times.
I played with him.
Oh, okay, sorry.
At Miami.
In practice?
Yeah, so that doesn't count. Okay. Also saw Terrell Buckley down the field before the game. He's the defensive back coach for Mississippi State. Those two were unbelievable corners in the NFL for a long time. And T-Buck, I asked him, are you coaching these guys to gamble on routes like you used to gamble on routes? He said, absolutely.
I guess he's like a god in the panhandle where he recruits. They love him there, College Football Hall of Famer. He's one of the big reasons that Martin Emerson came here, the true freshman from Pensacola.
Well, he loves the young DBs that he has, Emerson and Jerry and Jones on the other side, both true freshmen. But his favorite by far is Cameron Dancer, and I agree with him. I think Dancer is going to be a high draft pick and play in the NFL for a long time. He's big, 6'2", 185 pounds, and not afraid to come up and tackle somebody.
Third down and 5. Clock winding under 11 minutes to go here in the fourth. Here's Gibson. Looks like he's going to be just short. You know, it's a big game for Nick Gibson. He's from Birmingham, Alabama. A guy who was sort of overlooked in the recruiting game coming out of high school. Like to have a good showing here against the Crimson Tide. It's 4th down and 1. This is what they call 4-down territory, Grease. Quarterback run. Gonna throw for it. Under pressure. Now does throw and it's caught. Stephen Guidry. Just how they drew it up in the dirt. First down, Mississippi State. Gain of 6.
You thought you were right there for a while, didn't you? You thought it was quarterback run, and then it was a pass, and then it was almost a quarterback run again here, and then he pulls up and finds Guidry. All looks like a conversion on the stat sheet.
And now it's Thomas down. It's Dedrick Thomas. Injured for Mississippi State. Baylor. 7:30 Eastern on ABC, streaming on the ESPN app. And you know, the game day guys, they got Chip and Joanna there. We were in Waco. We tried. Chip and Joanna never came. Molly said she's best friends with both of them. And apparently they're not that close. They like Reese Davis better.
I did go to the restaurant. You didn't come with us.
No, I heard about the line, so I didn't want to wait in that line.
Well, I went to the to-go section.
12th play of the drive here. And that's Garrett Schrader, our first look at that second quarterback from Tommy Stevens there. We were expecting to see both of the quarterbacks. And you see now Oklahoma quarterback Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, he's good. That Baylor defense, that's what I want to see tonight, is can they keep up with this Sooners offense? That Baylor defense has been outstanding under Matt Rule this season.
Well, they started off great, that Oklahoma defense, and then last two opponents are combined for 89 points. So, but that'll be fun. It's good to see some new blood, right? It's new blood. Getting Baylor in the conversation. Getting Minnesota in the conversation. People saying nice things about Indiana, Illinois. It is nice to talk about. You know, we have the Blue Bloods, and that's how Alabama remains in the playoff conversation almost regardless. But it is nice to talk about some other schools. Everybody's trying hard. Everybody's on scholarship, Grease. Okay? It's more than just a handful of schools around the country. And Mississippi State trying to turn things around here, where it becomes just making a bowl is not their only success. They're looking for more in the very difficult SEC. Joe Moorhead was interesting. We talked to him yesterday on 3rd down and 10. The hard hitting continues down to the 29th. They said the reason you come here is to play against teams like Alabama. Now, we hear that all the time. But Moorhead took it a step further. He goes, I want to coach against Nick Saban. That's what I signed up for.
Yep.
I think that was an interesting perspective.
Yep, and, you know, it's one thing to coach. You know, it's one thing to have the right players, right? And the recruiting here in the state of Mississippi, they go head-to-head with Alabama a lot. You know, the All-Star game here in this part of the country is Mississippi against Alabama.
Yeah, and Mississippi's won the last two high school All-Star games, beating Alabama. They are very, very proud of that. 4th down and 5. Stevens to throw. Lets it rip. Bit high off the fingertips of Isaiah Zuber. Shielding his eyes right into the sun. Mississippi State's been off the mark on a painful day for Alabama. Back and ready to play on this military appreciation game here in Starkville. It's a big deal here, should be a big deal everywhere. Doesn't matter what day of the week or what the calendar says. Tyrell Shavers, his first catch. You think about the military, and there's Austin Williams, wide receiver from Mississippi State. His dad, Craig, 23 years in the Air Force, rising to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel Vice Commander. Williams, as you would expect, moved around a lot as a kid. Still managed to have a 4.0 grade point average. Good on him. It's Brian Robinson, the ball carrier. Take a look at today's hardest working player, brought to you by Duluth Trading Company.
Yeah, Najee Harris started to get on a roll a week ago in that second half against LSU, and he's kept it rolling in this game. 4 touchdowns, he caught 1, ran for 3, and he has been tough to get on the ground for Mississippi State the entire afternoon.
On 2nd down and 3. That's Robinson. A couple of yards there.
you know, coming into this season, you know, he had to replace Josh Jacobs, Damian Harris, and then Trey Sanders, the talented young back, gets hurt in the spring, and really all of it has come on this guy's shoulders here. Robinson has been a kind of just a change of pace guy, but Najee Harris has had to shoulder the load, and that's not easy for one man to do. They don't typically do that in the SEC, right? You've always had Alabama with two guys.
Nice block picked up. And it's Robinson down the sideline. Shavers is the one who made the block for him. And Harris does all that following his 146-yard rushing effort a week ago against LSU.
And the thing that's impressed me is he's catching the ball really well. You know, that touchdown catch he had against LSU was outstanding. He's caught the ball well here today, and that's just an added element to this offense for Alabama.
We should point out we're running with the full 2s and maybe 3s here.
Yeah, this is
the Crimson Tide.
Well, this is the first drive where the backup offensive line and receivers have been in the game.
And still Mac Jones remains in there at quarterback. Keelan Robinson, the ball carrier for a yard, his first. And again, you look at the schedule. Alabama, they'll play Western Carolina next week at home. I would expect to see a lot of the players you're seeing right now on the field next week for the big one against Auburn. If Alabama still has any chance for a playoff shot. We've never had a college football playoff without Alabama. Mac Jones just too far. Again, looking for Shavers.
You know, Jacarius Landers, I really enjoyed learning about his story this week, getting ready for this game. His mother passed away when he was in 8th grade, and he's the oldest of 5 siblings, and he kind of had to take on a parental role in the house, moved in with his grandmother, but they didn't have a whole lot of money, so he went and got a job at a deli in town where his mom worked called Broma's, and paid for the clothes for his siblings and the food, and took on the responsibility, and he's grown into quite a fine player here. It wasn't an easy transition for him. He had to go to junior college, and he was an offensive player in high school, and he went to JUCO, and they told him you got to play defense. He said, I'd never backpedaled before.
Incomplete pass. He's got 5 brothers, or 4 brothers, I beg your pardon, and an older sister, and that's his own daughter. And I'll apologize if I mispronounce her name, but it's the meaning that is significant. Nevaeh Renee is, I believe, the name of his daughter. So Nevaeh is heaven spelled backwards, and Renee, the French translation, is reborn. So heaven reborn in honor of his mom.
Really cool.
I talked to an NFL scout yesterday who was in this week.
Please be good on this, McShay.
And said Landrews has worked his way into becoming a draft pick, and they love the fact that he needs the game and the way he plays the game.
And that's so great to hear. Here's a guy you root for to make the next level.
And some people just make the best out of every situation, and that's Jacarius Landers.
It was 35-7 most of the way. Alabama scored touchdowns on their first 5 possessions. And here's Mac Jones taking his own shot at the end zone, looking for Slade Bolden.
I'm surprised you don't go for a field goal there if you're Nick Saban, right? You got Will Riker, we talked a little bit earlier in the game, has been hurt with a hip flexor, and why not get Joseph Bulovis some practice?
Four and a half to go here in the 4th quarter. Tommy Stevens has been in there the whole way. Got a brief glimpse of Garrett Schrader. Turned over on downs. And the Bulldogs will take over. Stevens just run ahead for a couple.
Just like we talked about with Tua Tagovailoa, the same could be said for Tommy Stevens. You see Raekwon Davis on crutches there, that left ankle and a boot. But if you're Joe Moorhead, why do you have Tommy Stevens still out here in this game. Why don't you get Garrett Schrader in the game? Stevens has dealt with injuries the entire season, and they got a big game coming up, the Egg Bowl, in 2 weeks.
Yep. They need to win their last 2 to get bowl eligible. Keep that streak alive. Bowl game every decade, every season this decade. One of just 5 SEC teams that can make that claim. It's Nick Gibson, the ball carrier. Set for an update. Here's Matt Barry.
All right, guys, checking in on Notre Dame taking on Navy. Ian Book to chase Claypool, but of course, Irish up early in the first quarter, 7-0.
Gibson trying to give this crowd something to cheer about. Bring those cowbells. He's gone pretty silent. Gain of 19 on that last run.
Blocking up front by this offensive line. Alabama's defense, you got to give them credit. This is not LSU's offense, granted, but they have come to play today. They've had to deal with some injuries. But they've held Mississippi State under 275 yards and 79 yards passing. That's a good day at the office.
Just beyond midfield. Pressure is picked up. Stevens will throw on the run. In and out of the hands of Spivey, the tight end. You wondered coming in, when's the last time Alabama's lost consecutive games? We don't have to worry about that anymore, but they've lost consecutive games once in the last decade. That was in 2013. That was the kick 6 in the Iron Bowl, and they followed that with a Sugar Bowl loss to Oklahoma.
Yeah, but back-to-back regular season games. You got to go back to Nick Saban's first year in 2007.
They
right?
lost 6 games. Can you imagine? Alabama lost 6 games with Nick Saban as their head coach. And that was the last time Mississippi State beat Alabama. That was 2007. That was Nick's first season. You mentioned the defense is an issue. The amount of points Alabama has given up, the amount of yards per game they've given up, all the most dating back to that first season here under Nick Saban, the 6th loss season.
Yeah, they have not certainly been as good defensively because they have been the gold standard for a long time, but they've been good on defense. They just haven't been elite. The reason that they have been in this situation, they almost beat LSU a week ago, was because of Tua Tagovailoa and these receivers, because they haven't been running the ball as consistently as they have in the past either.
It's Nick Gibson.
So if they're not able to play Auburn with Tua Tagovailoa, that game becomes real interesting, because Mac Jones is not Tua Tagovailoa and doesn't have the rapport with this receiving core, nor does he have the attitude and the aggressive nature of Tua Tagovailoa. So it'll be hard for him to win in the Iron Bowl without Tua.
4th down play here for Mississippi State. Here's Stevens, hit hard, rocketed right up the middle. Ben Davis comes up to make the shot. Sack for a loss of 8. Stevens will feel that one. As we hit the final minute, quite possibly the final commercial break here at Starkville. This season, for every field goal and extra point made by participating universities, Allstate will make a contribution to the university's general scholarship fund. Thank you, Allstate. We thank you for tuning in. Here's the younger Tagovailoa. Taulia, the 3rd-string quarterback for Alabama, is in the game now for the Crimson Tide. And the handoff on 1st down. Robinson, his 2nd carry. Alabama seeking its 90th consecutive win against an unranked opponent under Nick Saban. That's the longest streak in FBS history. And Nick's going to pick up his 197th overall regular season win, which will tie him for 4th all-time in the SEC, behind Bear Bryant, Steve Spurrier, and Vince Dooley. Nice list to be on. Rising up the charts like a bullet. Final 20 seconds now. Again, it's Keelan Robinson, the true freshman from Washington, D.C. Spins for the first down.
And Alabama's going to escape Starkville here with the win. But at what cost, right? As you said earlier. And we'll wait to hear the severity of the injury to Tua Tagovailoa, Raekwon Davis, DJ Dale, and others. Certainly a costly win for Nick Saban.
This is the worst possible 38-7 victory you can have in college football. The decision to start Tua and leave him in the game will be contested and discussed for weeks to come. Down to Molly.
Thank you, Steve. Coach, this win came at a cost. What do you know about the severity of the injury to Tua Tagovailoa?
I really don't know at this point. You know, we got to do some MRIs and some things, but it's a hip injury, and that's probably something that could be serious, so we'll just have to wait and see. But, you know, I like to talk about the rest of the guys on our team who played a really good game today and did a great job of trying to reestablish the Bama factor, and I was really proud of the way our guys competed in the first half of the game.
What about Raekwon Davis and DJ Dale? What are the status of their injuries?
Twisted ankle, you know, a little sublux knee. I don't know how serious those guys are, but we'll find out.
These are some crucial pieces to your team. You said that this team no longer controls their own destiny. How will you make a run possibly without them?
Well, you know, we're going to coach the guys that we got, the guys that want to play, the guys that are going to go out there and do what we have to do to be, you know, as good as we can be. We got a lot of good players, and we believe in them. We have faith in them. We trust in them, and we're going to do everything we can to get them ready to play and put them in the best position they can to be successful.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
It will be fascinating to see what Alabama looks like and which players take the field next week in Tuscaloosa against Western Carolina. A most difficult victory for the Crimson Tide here today. And it has nothing to do with the scoreboard. 38-7. It's all Bama with the score.
ESPN.